Hello and welcome back to Inquisitor Martyr. We're continuing on with the Lacon Majoris fights. I think we're actually getting close to the end of this third segment now.
Full Auspex lock acquired. Pseudo-kinetic tracking is on, and it is being transmitted to your tactical sensorium. Eliminate negative variables for preferred outcome.
So we'll finish this segment next week. I was sitting down on Twitter like I usually am, and I saw people were sharing these TikTok videos. Usually I'm just cringing over TikTok because I'm a grumpy old man in a younger man's body. But honestly, these videos were pretty great. This guy, what he's doing is he's sitting here in, I think it's Boneworks. This VR shooter thing for, I think, the Valve Index, what most people use. And he's doing all these wild trick shots because he has, like, Spider-Man webs. So he flips off a bridge, swings around, goes around the other side, holds up a frying pan, shoots the pan with a Desert Eagle, which flings the pan into a guy's head and kills him. Which is absolutely amazing to me. But I was sitting there thinking, one, I need VR. Two, imagine, I mean, that example I gave is absolutely absurd. But can you imagine 40K VR? Space Hulk VR. Just think about that. You know, 4 or 5 of your buddies. You want a horror game experience? Do that. I mean, we already had the one Space Hulk video game, so there's already kind of a rough idea of how it would be built. Actually, that was made by the same guys who did Hired Gun. Yeah. They definitely nailed the environments, but you can imagine that. Just all your friends going in, people getting wiped out by gene stealers, or depending on what it is. I'm always an advocate for random gen in games. Have random gen Space Hulks. Oh, that'd be so fun. That would be so interesting too, because VR really lets you get into kind of a horror aspect. Because you remove that little disconnect that looking at a screen has.
There is no escape from the wrath of the Imperium.
Like, that's something I experienced while playing Skyrim VR. This was a few years ago, right when it came out. A buddy of mine has a PSVR headset, and I was playing it at his house. So cool. Even though I spent hundreds of hours playing Skyrim on my own time on my Xbox, you know, being able to play it in first person felt so different. I would spend time, because he was sitting on the couch and I was talking to him, and I would just sit there and start looking at the sky, just going, damn, this looks so cool. So imagine that with 40K. You know, you have giant, you know, swarm lords or brood lords coming at you. You have anything you can think of for chaos. A Khitan, I think it is, or you see a Plague Reaper rumbling by. You could have Chaos Space Marines tower over you, Chaos Demons. You can see Tau battle suits. It would be so cool. And then you could... Oh, I'm just thinking how cool that would be. You know, you can pick and choose whatever weapons you want to go into fights with. You can even have, like, war zones you're fighting in instead of just Space Hulks. It has potential. The one thing I think is VR still needs a little bit more work. Because I think one of the big causes of motion sickness is fidelity. You know, some of these screens are still pretty low quality. So if you can up that to the point where you don't have to worry as much about, you know, the screen quality affecting your vision, you could have some really cool games. I'm not gonna sit here and be one of those guys who's like, VR is clearly the future. No. I think standard gaming setups as we have now will dominate for the foreseeable future, but VR will move from very niche to a more viable option. And the nice part is, in terms of peripherals for games, it's a lot better than, depending on your age, you, oh marvelous viewer, depending on how old you are, you might remember, you know, Rock Band, Guitar Hero, DJ Hero, all that stuff. I remember it very well. The problem when it came to those peripherals was they were made pretty much exclusively for one series. And as a result, you know, you really couldn't effectively use a Guitar Hero guitar for Rock Band. But for VR, you just need a headset. The problem we're encountering right now is, you know, Oculus sitting here because they got Facebook money, or Meta now, because they needed to sound more pretentious. But they have that kind of money backing them, so they can kind of pull an Epic Game Store and be like, hey, creator, do you want money? Come make a game for us. Even if it means you're going to get maybe the half the sales, if that. They can still just throw money at developers. And I think that's going to be the problem for a while, until some kind of third-party studios kind of come around, so you don't have these... Like, you're going to have these soon-to-be first-party developers for, you know, Oculus. That's going to happen. And even then, it's not really even a first-party thing, because it's just, it works on our headset, which, for lack of going into actual technical differences, they're the same thing. I mean, they're not the same. Some parts are different, and how their tracking functions varies, but they're all VR headsets. And that's the big thing to take away from it. It's not as much... Like, there's the storefront issue, you know, Oculus has their stuff, but everybody else just goes onto, like, Steam, and is just like, hey, buy our crap here. But I digress. I just think VR 40K would be really cool. Because if you can give me a power fist, I will, in VR, Superman punch a Gene Stealer in the noggin. Full stop. I will do it. I will go flying across my room like an idiot, hit a wall, but man, it'll be worth it. Or if I can rock some lightning claws and be, you know, cracked out Wolverine, I'm gonna do it, because that would be so fun. Plus, in general, I think VR has a lot of opportunities nobody's capitalized on yet.
In loading data construct.
Not that great.
We've detected
detected multiple reality distortion waves near you, Inquisitor. The warp gates are active. I've activated the jello shields to protect the sanity of my crew.
Well, with VR, like I said, I think there's a lot of untapped potential. A big thing would be, like, MMOs. The closest thing we have to an MMO, it's not even really an MMO, is VR chat. And that's just a bunch of dudes hanging out talking shit, or a bunch of furries, depending on where you are on the internet. And that's it. No, I think there's a lot of possibilities. There are some VR shooters, but nobody's really taken the next step and been like, yo, let's make a game like Borderlands for VR. Let's make, you know, let's make a game like Stalker. Which, if you have never played it, seriously play it, it's amazing. And if you're wondering what it's based off of Strugatsky's book Roadside Picnic. Eastern European sci-fi is actually pretty damn good. Just like The Witcher is Eastern European fantasies Polish. They're interesting stories, and it's a lot. When they dip into Eastern European mythology, it's stuff you don't really hear about a lot in the West. And I actually really appreciate getting, like, a lot of the cultural stuff, because I think that makes things really interesting. Like Slavic deities being used, or their names invoked as a weapon name or something, I think is really cool. Because just, you don't hear about it. How often do you hear about, you know, Thor, Odin, any of the Aesir, compared to Slavic deities like, I think it's Perun, P-E-R-U-N? You know, it's very rare you hear of Eastern European deities, so I always love hearing of it, or even just the sci-fi. It feels like they have a different take on things, and I can appreciate that. I think that's part of what made Stalker so interesting, or Metro 2033. Is it 2033? 2032? I haven't actually used the year associated with it in so long, I just call it Metro. Those games are great too. But jumping back to VR, I just feel like it's definitely... it's an untapped thing, and I don't know if it's... if nobody's taken that risk because they don't think there's enough money in that side of the industry yet, or if they just haven't considered it. I mean, look at how popular some of these VR games are. You know, like I said, VR chat, or even something like Phasmophobia. People love that game. You can find tons of people playing that on YouTube. It shows that there are actual games people play. It's not, you know, just playing Arizona Sunshine for the 40 millionth time. There's a bit more out there. Now are we gonna see, you know, the next Call of Duty VR? No. No way. There isn't a snowball's chance in hell that'll ever happen. Unless VR overtakes everything else. But that would be so far down the line. I feel like at that point we would be, you know, having a brain in our... or not a brain in our chip, a chip in our brain that lets us just jack into the game. Which also would be really cool, you know, some Sword Art Online level stuff. Just without the dying in game meaning you die in real life stuff. It'd be so fun to stream. Yeah, I just think VR is an interesting avenue that needs to be expanded upon more.
Loading.
I know I had tweeted out a while back now, but I wish someone would pick up Steel Battalion and do a VR game of that. Because that's another game where, if you're old enough to remember it, OG Steel Battalion had... It was... Okay, so imagine, you know, like the steering wheels and pedals and stuff you can get for simulators, or like the flight sticks and stuff. Imagine a 3-paneled, like, battle station setup with over 40 buttons, a throttle, I believe there was a flight stick, and then I think 4 or 5 pedal foot thing. That was all you needed for Steel Battalion. One of the buttons on the console was just for your wiper blades, so you can wipe away rain. I loved it. I never owned one myself because, one, that was OG Xbox and I had a GameCube, but also that stuff was expensive. But man, that was so cool to see. I mean, that's the closest thing we've ever had to, you know, some proper mech warrior stuff. So that's something I always wanted. And they did the Connect one, Steel Battalion something or other. Absolute dumpster fire. Connect sucked. It just couldn't register finite movements. But VR? VR, you could do some stuff. Circumvent the need for a full-on, like, control setup. Because it's all virtualized at that point. And that, I think, is where the advantage really comes in. Because then you could apply that for any mech game. And that's a great option for people. Have some multiplayer, honestly, as I'm saying it, literally Mech Warrior 5 Mercenaries, but VR. You know how easy that would sell? If you want to come up with some streamer bait for a game, that is it. Man, that would it'd be so cool. And let's be real, mech games were built for VR. You know, all these games, oh, you're sitting in the cockpit. Dude, with VR, you could be in the cockpit.
A disaster. All the warp gates are sealed, although I can still hear the echoes in my head.
And in a way, you kind of circumvent some of the problems of, like, oh, motion sickness, and that brain disconnect where you're like, I'm walking, but my body isn't, because you'd be sitting. So it feels a lot more natural.
And that's the
The teleporter's kind of meh. So, that is all for now. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit the like button. It helps out the channel a lot. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.